I'm Bill Dillane. Thank you for joining us today. Can anyone sing? Can anybody who's never sung before sing? We're going to find out today. My co-host is Raylene Mautner. Raylene is no stranger to NHTV. You've been on television, you've been on radio, you were on WNHU, and you might have something else coming up. We'll talk about that at another point in time.
Absolutely. So happy to be here, Bill.
Glad to have you. Raylene's going to be my co-host, and our guest is Roberta D. Fiore, who is a singing teacher and a choir director.
Yes.
And your website is musicbyroberta.com. You're going to teach me to sing.
I am.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Anybody can learn to sing.
Okay. How can anybody learn to sing, Roberta?
Well, it's a matter of two things. There's the quality of the instrument that you're born with, and then there's the ability to know how to use it. So learning how to use it is a set of physical exercises that anybody can master. And I always teach everybody to the standard of classical technique, because as we discussed before, at least as Raylene already knows, classical singers have no electronic amplification. So it really is about how big of a breath you can take, how strong those support muscles are. So I teach everybody to that standard, whether they want to sing like that or not, because that's what gives them optimal control over their voice to do whatever it is they would like to do with it.
Okay, so you said two things that I think are very interesting. One is the quality of the instrument that you're born with, and the other is how you learn how to use it. So, Roberta, if you're not born with like a super high quality instrument, meaning, I don't know, maybe you don't have as much space as someone else, or your vocal cords are not as refined as someone else, can you compensate for that by learning how to use it in a more intense way?
Yes. Well, I'm fond of saying, if you grew up to be Luciano Pavarotti or not, is what was put here the day you were born. But whatever voice you do have, anybody can learn to improve it. Power and projection increases, range increases in both direction, and tone quality improves. So whatever voice you start out with, it gets better.
You know, and I have to say, as a researcher, and I've done some research even before coming to this show today, Bill, the benefits of singing are so great, and it's proven over and over again in various populations, with the elderly, with those who have dementia, with those who have certain learning disabilities, with those who have cancer. Singing is just uplifting, but not only that, there is research to show that it actually lowers stress levels. I mean, they've done saliva tests, they've done blood tests before and after, and they found that there's a difference. There's a neurological change that happens.
Yes.
And as you were saying before, Roberta, and you know, Roberta is my singing teacher, and I will tell you the story if you wish, but she's absolutely performed miracles with me, is that really it's about your being confident and about your learning to use your instrument in the proper way.
Well, I think that's where the confidence comes from, because once you have a solid technique, anybody can be fabulous and hit it right and hit it lucky on a good day. But if you know what you're doing, your job is to be competent on the very worst day. And the confidence comes from, if you've got that rock solid technique, you know exactly how your voice is going to obey and what's going to come out of your mouth before you ever step out on stage. So there is no more worry about, am I going to get that note? Is it going to sound okay? You already know.
How do you compensate for a cold?
Good question.
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. A sore throat, you can't sing at all, because if your throat is sore, that means your cords are swollen. They're not going to vibrate. You shouldn't sing like that. You'll cause damage. If it's just congestion, then it's the things we talked about, the support. You can find a place to resonate your voice, some little spot where that congestion isn't. You're not going to sound quite the same, but you can use your technique to get around it and still sing competently on the bad day.
What did you put Raylene through when you were teaching her?
Well, I guess that's for her to tell if it was fun or if it was torture.
Raylene, let's talk lesson one, and then let's talk your last lesson.
You know, when I went, Bill, as you know, the story behind the scenes is that I was in a play. I wanted to get back to acting. I used to act years ago. And the first play I did was not a musical. And it had such great reviews, I thought I will try out for another play. Well, lo and behold, I find out I'm supposed to do a solo. And what you don't know, what not many people know, is that years ago, when we were in a work environment and the staff was putting on a talent show for benefit, I chose to sing. And when I got up there, I totally froze, and I never sang in public since. So I didn't know.
You didn't tell me that.
Right, I didn't. So I didn't know that I would ever be able to do that again, because there's something about singing, Roberta, isn't it? That you're almost bearing your soul. I sang to myself plenty of times. So I go to Roberta, and our first lesson was all about, it wasn't about just singing the song, which I thought, gee, I've got like 3 weeks till my play opens, or till but no, it was about, she insisted that I use proper technique, that I learn proper breathing and breath support and proper exercises. And that meant, and proper placement, and not only that, but the way that you hold your mouth, you know, when you shape your vowels and when you shape your words, also matters in terms of the beauty of the tone.
Yes,
am I right? That's what I got from the first lesson, and I thought, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get this? Well, you tell him by the time that my play came.
By the time the play came and I went to go see her, I was so proud. Not only did she sing her song, her voice and her singing was a standout on stage, and I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. It's not just because she was my student, and she heard that from many other audience members.
I did.
She put a lot of effort. She worked hard, she practiced hard, and she got the results, but I'm so proud.
Thank you. And that meant everything to me. And you know something, psychologically, we talked about physically, you know, the different changes that have been researched when it comes to singing, but also psychologically, it not only de-stresses you, but it really lifts sad moods.
Yes.
It does so much for you when you sing. It's almost like, you know, back in the Renaissance days, they talked about singing as almost prayerful.
Yes.
You know.
Well, we are the instrument. So it is a very special kind of mind, soul, and body connection. And music is one of the few activities that engages both hemispheres of the brain at the same time. So music really does make us smarter, which is why music education is so important. And we talked about that physicality of the breathing and the projecting in the theater. We really are athletes when we do this. It looks like we're standing there doing nothing, but we're moving large muscle groups on our body. So it's about a lifestyle change of health and wellness.
It absolutely is.
It really is.
Now, Bill, as somebody who's a novice singer, and Roberta's going to teach you how to start getting started singing, is singing something you always had in the back of your mind, something you'd love to do but were afraid, or what?
No, I've heard myself on karaoke because I went one time when they were taping, and I did Beatles Twist and Shout, and I thought I did a terrific job, and I put the cassette in the car on the way home. I was like, we won't do that again. So I gave that up. So and my joke is that God appeared to me in a dream and told me not to sing in church. Appeared to me again the other day, but I won't say what he said. But anyways.
So see, but an experience like that just kind of like made you lose your confidence, like that one with me. But the fact is, you can get it back.
Absolutely.
And you could learn how to get a great deal of satisfaction from singing.
Were you afraid to take it up, Raylene? You talked about the time on stage, and you said you would never do it again, but I was surprised when you told me you were in a play and you were going to sing, and you had a singing teacher. Were you afraid to take it up again? And did you go to a singing teacher because you knew you had to do this, and you were afraid before you wanted Roberta to get you out of being afraid? You know that I'm very focused when I decide to do something. I know that. And I do it. And I knew what I needed to do. I knew I could not go up there cold, given what happened to me years ago. And I think the thing about finding a singing teacher like Roberta is that when you begin to know what you're doing, you
know that you're not going to bomb. At least, at the very least, you know you won't because you have the tools.
Yes.
And that's what I didn't have before. So I got armed with the tools.
How would you train, Roberta, how would you train somebody like a Raylene who has done TV here before at NHTV, who had a radio show for several years, so she has a performing presence? How do you train someone like Raylene, and how do you train somebody who's never had any stage or radio or TV presence?
Well, the work to learn the technique of the singing is the same for everybody. And a good teacher meets everybody where they are. So we had different things to talk about because she did already understand about stage presence. These are things we talk about more in different ways with, for example, the younger students, the children that I teach, who are learning for the first time how to find that self-possession to get up and stand in front of people and do something. One of the biggest things that I tell them is that all the hard work you do in the lesson, that is all about you. You're developing yourself, you're training yourself, you're educating yourself. But the minute you step out in front of that audience, it's not about you anymore. It's about them. And those of us that do this, we possess the closest you'll ever come in this life to real Harry Potter wand-waving magic. Because you can make all of those people forget their troubles and forget everything except the story that you decide to tell, because you're in control when you're center stage.
I'm thinking of the song Piano Man.
Yes.
You know, Billy Joel singing about being a piano man. Or on the other side of it, Rick Nelson singing about Garden Party, where people wanted to hear what he did in the 50s, and he was doing something else, and they didn't want to hear that and say, oh, there's a garden party, I'd rather drive a truck. So should people be bringing in their own experiences regarding a song that they want to do, whether it's an up song or whether it's a sad song they want to sing?
Well, we get to that. You know, as we talked about, the point of coming to learn to sing is about the correct technique of using your voice, not just to improve your use of it, but primarily to preserve vocal health. Because those vocal cords are a thin, delicate set of muscles that can be very easily damaged by misuse. And the goal is you want to be able to be far older than I am and still be able to sing. So there's the technique, then once you know how, we do work on people's individual repertoire that's of interest to them. But I guess the best example is to say, you could probably get a 6-year-old to memorize and deliver the Gettysburg Address, but if you handed it to them typed out, they wouldn't be able to read it. So you're better off to take the time to teach them to eventually read it for themselves, then they'll be able to read anything of their choice once they have the skills.
Seeing you talked about using your voice as an instrument or using your body as an instrument, that's what you told me in the tape I'm going to show. So you gave me a lesson, and we're going to show highlights of the lesson, and we'll talk on the other side.
So how about just, now you sing down here where I can't. How about, Nice. All right, we didn't quite get there.
Okay.
Because you need a little more air. Sometimes singing is like playing basketball. What do you do when you have the ball? Bounce, bounce, shoot!
Yeah.
Or in your case, bounce, bounce, shoot!
Oh.
Literally.
Okay.
Take that big breath we just talked about.
Have you ever thought of doing play-by-play?
Maybe I have a second career?
Yes.
In front of me?
Yes.
All right. All right. Take that great big breath and play that bounce. Put one hand here on your diaphragm, the other below your belly button. Take that big breath like you did before and play the bounce, bounce, shoot game.
Okay.
Bounce, bounce, shoot!
Bounce, bounce, shoot!
Did you feel those muscles kick?
Yes.
This one in, this came out?
Yeah, but how about hockey? And he scores!
Perfect! Even better.
Okay.
Did you feel that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
That's encoded in our DNA. That mechanism is why babies can cry so loud. Our body knows how to do this. We're just bringing it under our conscious control. So, What did we really do? This became the regulator on the air tank. It created pressure.
Okay.
So, score!
Score!
Do you see how effortless it was? That was a powerful sound.
Yes.
And, oh, it's every note in the scale and every one in between.
Okay.
So, score!
Score!
The only difference was the speed of the air. Do score one more time and tell me where you feel it in your face. Score!
Score!
Where did you feel the vibration and the movement?
Right here.
Right here.
Okay.
In the mask. And it didn't want to move. It went from high to low, but it didn't matter. And that's what it means when I say keep your placement in line. So, you've just experienced all of the pieces. You learned how to take the big breath and fill the lungs from the bottom up. You felt that support mechanism kick to create the pressure. So this is the gas pedal feeding the fuel. This is the fuel pump, keeping it circulating.
Okay.
And the score, you felt it resonate in the mask where it belongs. That took all the stress off your throat, and that was a big, powerful sound. So now, can we play that little game just like score, but instead do it and sing the scale?
Okay.
Give it a try. How about oh? Oh, oh,
Oh.
Did this move the same way?
Yes.
Not quite.
No? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Shoulders back. Look, it's got to be this much movement. Ooh, that much
Down
movement.
here. Okay.
Ooh. Change the last one to
Okay.
E. Ooh, and change the last one to E.
Okay.
Keep it nice and narrow and open your mouth. Let the sound out.
Okay.
A narrower E, and think that same front part of your face, and don't
Okay.
get lazier with the tummy. Same support.
Okay.
Nope. Ooh, ee. Put it right here.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
Better.
Okay.
Did you feel the difference?
Yes.
Now, you can do these same things for your broadcasting when you speak. You can trigger that same support. And the same thing when you did the score thing, you can think about keeping your voice here when you speak. And it's going to just, your throat won't get tired.
Okay.
You'll be able to talk all day.
Okay, good.
Nice job. Was it fun?
Yes. How do you think I was when I started the lesson, Roberta? And how do you think I was when I ended? And both of you can answer that question.
Well, much like any other beginner, your voice was stuck in your throat. It wasn't a big, powerful sound. At the beginning, it's hard to tell about the full depth of the instrument when you're not using it right. We vocalized up the scale. You got to a certain point, you couldn't go any higher. You went flat and couldn't go any higher. After you learned, really, we only spent maybe 10 minutes. And after you learned a couple things about breathing support and a couple of quick tricks about how to place your voice and how to shape your mouth, it was a very dramatically different sound. It was bigger, powerful, more resonant. And instead of going flat and stopping at a certain point, without any trouble, you sang 2 notes higher than where you got stuck initially.
I
And that
didn't
happened in
expect that.
about 10 or 15 minutes.
It was a dramatic difference.
And that was fun.
Okay. I enjoyed doing it. It was like, oh, wow, I can do this?
You can. You really can.
And the interesting thing is, too, like Roberta will encourage her students to take the same techniques that she teaches for singing and use them throughout the day. So that breathing that she taught you,
Yeah, that was
that's
good.
important to carry
Yes.
on throughout the day, right?
To take good care of your voice and protect, particularly you work in broadcasting, you talk for a living. So it's very important that you're using that right support, keeping it in the right place, not stressing your throat to take good care of your instrument.
What's my range? Tenor?
You're a tenor.
Tenor, okay. Sergio Franchi was tenor,
Yes,
right?
he
Okay.
was.
Okay.
Yes, Billy, you're going to
You're
be
in
the
good
next
company.
Sergio Franchi.
Hey, Joe Costa, WATR.
You hear this?
On Carousel Italiano, you're going to play my song someday. But let's talk about your initiative. You have an initiative to teach children, you and a friend, Katrina Axelrod. It's called Music Shared Experiences, and you can see it on here, and we'll give you a contact number too. Tell me about Music Shared Experiences.
Music Shared Experiences is the new initiative and outreach program of the Meriden Arts Trust, an already established 501c3 nonprofit corporation that operated for 8 years, presenting the Central Connecticut Youth Orchestra. Our reason for wanting to do this is all the things we talked about, the great many benefits of music education, and we wanted to expand that program and make it bigger to encompass everyone. So our mission statement is to promote the learning of language of music in our schools and communities, and using music's common bond to promote community, events, concerts, music lessons, lessons in healthy living and well-being. We talked about that very physical connection with what we're doing. We want to provide personal growth for all the participants of all ages. Music really is for a lifetime, and we were inspired by a quote from Lucy MacDonald, a Canadian psychologist, who says, "The initial bond is a shared experience." Our society has become so fragmented in recent years for so many reasons, and music and bringing people together to sing, to play, to listen to music, to come together as a community really can change lives.
You know, it's interesting. I was listening to the radio the other day. I don't know if you heard of this, but there's a project for it's a huge homeless person chorus. And it is changing lives in New York City. And they're going to Carnegie Hall. And they were interviewing some of the people. So you're right. All populations, a sense of community, no matter where you are, no matter what your background is.
Yes.
You all come together with that common bond of music.
Yes.
And there's a lot of research on chorus singing, too.
There is. We're going to start a children's chorus. We're hopefully going to have a barbershop group. We have wonderful plans. It includes that we're going to be looking for a performance home, that we want to have a place to do this in, that will be a center for the community to gather, that will have a performance space, you know, that really we can share all of these wonderful experiences.
How exciting.
It's funny how you talk about music being community, and you are a church musician. Do you feel it makes a better bond in your church community, having the chorus that you have, having the musicians that you have and the singers?
Absolutely it does. You know, those old familiar songs bring people together. They evoke memory. They evoke emotion. We talked about music engaging both hemispheres of the brain. You can memorize anything. You can memorize song lyrics for that very reason, far easier than lines from a page. Well, you did ask about church music, but that's a way of getting scripture verses memorized, because it's so much easier to call forth from memory song lyrics. Do you remember back in the 70s, Schoolhouse Rock?
30 seconds. Yes, Schoolhouse Rock, yes.
That's why they were doing that, to help kids memorize those things.
Okay.
Because it was set to music.
So your program, we'll talk more about this at another point. Music Shared Experiences, and if you can show the graphics, please. It was Music Shared Experiences. You can write to them at Meriden Arts Trust at cox.net, or you may call Katrina Axelrod. She's the president of Meriden Arts Trust of Music Shared Experiences, and the phone number is 203-235-7445. It's a good program. We'll talk about it again, and we're out of time. Raylene,
went
thank
by too
you.
fast.
Thank
You're
you
very
for helping me out.
Thank you so much
Roberta,
for inviting me.
thank you for being with me. Roberta Di Fiore,
Great to have you.
who is a church musician and a singing teacher.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. I have to thank my people here, Rob Beldo, our director, Max Tarbell, and switching, and our executive director, Walt Mann. Thank you for watching.